Our question for today is, I'm just starting out and I don't know how to name my practice. So I highly recommend that you don't name your practice your name. There's a couple reasons for that. I'll be honest, my official business name is Amanda Patterson, LMHC, LLC. There's kind of two main downfalls to that. And then I'm going to give you another tip on, how to make sure your name isn't a mouthful. So the first thing is that when we're all starting out, we're all excited. We're maybe a little short-sighted. We're thinking like, this is just me. This is my practice. I'm going to, be the face of it. And then maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, you realize you want to have a group practice. And now you're Amanda Patterson, LMHC, LLC. And that doesn't quite fit with the brand that you're trying to make. And so, there's nothing inherently wrong with your name, especially if you're really set, you're like, no, I'm never doing a group practice. That is never what I want. That is so far outside of my comfort zone. Then fine. It's okay to name it your name. And if you name it your name and again, eventually you decide that you want to do a group practice, then you just do a DBA, doing business as, and it's all fine. But these are things that I wish that I would have known, before naming my practice. And I know that other people have, because this question came to me and I see it all the time in the Facebook group, my private practice collective. People are like, how do I name my practice when we're first starting out? The other thing that I recommend that you don't do is put it specific to your location. You don't want to be, blah, blah, blah of this area or that area, unless you're really sure you're not going to leave. Again, you want to make sure that it is broad enough, not necessarily like your city. A lot of people, that used to be really important for things like related to SEO and your website and how you ranked, and your URL needed to be like Pembroke Pines Counseling or, Los Angeles Marriage Therapist. And that was like the gold standard. Well, Google got away from that. And you no longer have to have that in your URL. So it really opened up, I think, a lot of people and their creativity. And so I do recommend that you think about your brand and what you want to represent, and that you have a name that relates to that. And then if you want to do of, Kansas City or of Asheville or something like that, I think that makes a little bit more sense. But the main name is your brand. So for us, our main name is Caring Therapists. That was in brand. We talked it through. I, wrote a bunch of words down, came up with Caring Therapists. So now we have Caring Therapists of Broward, Caring Therapists of Palm Beach. Maybe we'll move, somewhere else and it'll be Caring Therapists of Orlando, something like that. And so you want to make sure that your name is branded and that it represents what you do. For us, we really wanted to be Caring Therapists because that was really what we did. But for other people, it could be, psychological testing, forensic psychologists. It could be, something related to like the Center for Group Therapy. So it can be related to the types of services that you offer, like one practice down here, the Relationship Center of South Florida. They do a lot of couples counseling. They do a lot of relational type of counseling. And so that makes sense. So either brand around who you are or what you do. I wouldn't necessarily brand around your name or your location specifically. So I'm going to give you one more tip, and I'm going to take a moment to thank our sponsor, TherapyNotes. If you're looking for an electronic record that is really full service for your practice, you can run a hybrid practice, you can run an in-person practice, you can run an online practice. They have a telehealth option. The billing is done directly through TherapyNotes, including processing credit cards. A lot of people ask about that. Yes, they have really competitive rates for processing credit cards. They send reminders to your clients, and they have wonderful customer service. So if you're looking for an electronic health record, please check out TherapyNotes. So here's one thing that doesn't really have to do with naming your practice, but really your URL and then your email address. It is always a mouthful when I'm like, hey, our email address is Amanda at Caring Therapists of Broward. That is really long. So if you can figure out a way to shorten that, I wish in my heart of hearts, like in everything, the one business mistake that I have made that haunts me every single day is that our website is Caring Therapists of Broward and that the email is at Caring Therapists of Broward. Talking about that practice I mentioned earlier, Relationship Center of South Florida, their email is at RSOSF or RCOSF. Doesn't matter. But they use an acronym. I wish I used CTOB. I wish would make my life so much easier. So if you're thinking about getting your website going, you may want to think about an acronym, not so much for the website because websites are easy to find, but for the email address. You want to have to keep, at blah, 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 blah. It's really people, I think, for us, leave out the S on therapist. Things get kind of funky. And so if I have one piece of advice, shorten your website, shorten your email. And that all relates to naming your practice. So if you need any help naming your practice or you newly named your practice, comment below. Let us know. We'd love to hear about it. I'm here most days at 3:00 answering your questions. Bye, everybody.